We're all experiencing what can be said to be an unprecedented time in recent history. On one end, we're dealing with the coronavirus pandemic and all of its ramifications. And on the other hand, people are coming together to speak up more vocally against anti-Black racism. For brands, they're having to balance the line between being sensitive to these realities while also trying to stay afloat and stay profitable. It's no longer simply enough to have the right branding or aesthetically pleasing products that people can post on their feeds. Brands must also be transparent about their values, ethics, and their reason for existing. Consumers want brands to talk about how they're leaving the world in a better place than when they found it. My name is Shimona Mehta, and I'm responsible for leading our EMEA team at Shopify Plus. Shopify Plus is Shopify's enterprise commerce platform, and we empower over 7,000 of the largest, most complex brands in the world. And so I've seen firsthand how important it is for brands to define and embody their values, both externally and internally, as well as keeping your whole community accountable to your vision. Throughout my talk, I'll be sharing examples of brands who are really doing this well. Sustainability isn't a buzzword to just be thrown around casually for brand campaigns and hoping for some good PR. In fact, that can actually have a detrimental effect to a brand as consumers dig into how authentically your practices are embedded into your culture. And it isn't something to simply just check a box so we make ourselves feel better. Figuring out how social issues that are relevant to your brand that you can impact in a meaningful way will give you long-term benefits of those first two, as well as positively influence your employer brand and perception with future investors. So where do we start? The United Nations has documented 17 sustainable development goals that range from ending poverty to strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, spur economic growth, and of course, tackle climate change and work to preserve our oceans and forests. My suggestion is not to spread yourself too thin by creating a multi-pronged sustainability manifesto that is unachievable. Start with something most relevant to you, where you feel your brand can move the needle or feel most passionate about. Whether you're starting a brand today rooted in sustainability, or you're trying to figure out how to evolve to include sustainable practices, going deep in one area is a really great place to start. An example of this is Mara Hoffman. They didn't have sustainability in their DNA from the beginning, and they actually aren't a traditional direct-to-consumer brand. But they're a company that had a distinct and iconic product and have completely pivoted to integrate sustainability into their practices and ethos. Hoffman was okay to shift the business away from buyers who didn't align with her vision and invested in their DTC strategy to make sure they were producing clothes the way that they wanted to. Their practices are dialed into two main areas: materials and manufacturing. They picked apart every detail to rebuild it with ethics and sustainability at the core. With only a quick search on the website, they supply consumers with extensive transparency on what factories they are partnered with, a breakdown of all the materials and elements in each garment, details on a take-back program to encourage their customers to think long-term about their garments, and legal and ethical guidelines to hold all parties responsible. This brand is an incredible example of what it means to innovate or die, and they've truly embraced scaling responsibly. At Shopify, we've implemented sustainable practices over the last couple of years as well. And again, we chose to start at a place that made the most sense for us as a technology company. A core commitment of ours is to achieve carbon neutrality, so we decommissioned all of our data servers and transitioned to Google Cloud. This was just the beginning of how we could look at our impact in the world and what we could start to build upon. Some of the fastest growing sustainable D2C brands are building their companies transparently and working to educate and enable consumers to make better buying decisions, not just with their brand, but within every facet of their lives. Clothing brand Cotton was founded to prove it's possible to create products that combine beautiful design, premium quality, and ethical manufacturing without costing a fortune. Their clothing is made with Egyptian Giza cotton grown in only one place in the world, the Nile Delta in Egypt. The founders work with family-run farms to pick the finest long staple fibers, which ensures direct trade practices, above fair pay, and safe working conditions along the way. In addition to their ethical material sourcing and their worker fairness, the brand is also funding and constructing schools in Egypt to give back to that community. These initiatives are woven into the fabric of each consumer interaction, from education on their website to a detailed postcard highlighting the impact of your order when you're unboxing. Their focus on education allows their consumers to raise their standards on how to be better, more conscious shoppers. Another luxury retailer who's enabling and informing their consumers to live more consciously is luxury fashion retailer Farfetch. Their goal is to inspire their consumers to make positive choices that consider the impact on the environment, society, and animal welfare. To do so, they've championed brands that embrace sustainability, and they've also offered services like Farfetch Second Life, where consumers can return luxury goods for a credit to the website. They're helping people make sustainable choices and develop ideas that help everyone create less waste and reduce our global carbon footprints, like using FSC certified packaging that's 100% recyclable, or supporting partners who are innovating to drive transport efficiency. Farfetch is looking at sustainability from end to end on their supply chain, making the fashion that we love positively cleaner at every step. Seeking to cater to consumers looking to buy more consciously and to the retailers looking to reduce their global footprint, we focused on carbon offsetting through our Shop app. The app allows consumers to track their deliveries, buy directly from their favorite brands, and carbon offset their orders. We track and calculate the emissions produced by each delivery, and we offset the emissions by protecting an equivalent number of trees. I love that over time, consumers can see how many trees that we've planted on their behalf. For people who are listening to this and are thinking that this is an unsurmountable task and this may be too costly for your bottom line, consider this. The US sustainability market is projected to reach $150 billion in sales by 2021, according to Nielsen. As a business, this is a great opportunity for you to deliberately examine what decisions you can make now to prepare your business for what the future of retail is going to look like and become a leader in this fast-growing space. My last point is, don't go it alone. You don't need to have all of the answers or build this in isolation. That can feel overwhelming. One of my favorite parts of my job is connecting with and speaking with brands. And what stood out to me about rising D2C brands is their openness to collaborate and share their learnings. They're understanding that in order for the world to be more sustainable, they must actively be a part of the change that they want to see. This means that their sustainability missions aren't rooted and protected within the walls of their company. They're developed to share with others and help the world. A really great example of this is Allbirds. They were born from a desire to bring sustainable resources into the footwear industry. Instead of monopolizing on their research and technology that they had developed to build a carbon neutral footwear, they're sharing it with other brands and calling on others to do the same. Late last year, Amazon released a copycat of one of their most popular designs, and Allbirds took them to task with an open letter that stated, "We don't care that you stole the shoe. We care that you discarded the thoughtful sustainability practices." They outright challenged them that if they're going to steal, then they needed to adopt and fully embody the full value proposition of their brand and not just commoditize the product for their bottom line. And now, just last month, Allbirds and Adidas announced a collaboration with the joint goal of creating a sneaker with the lowest ever carbon footprint. They're changing the rules of competition. They're combining efforts and strengths to reach their sustainability goals, and they're building their brands together. So in closing, society and consumer expectations are forever evolving, and brands need to keep up. Over the last decade, we've seen an increased spotlight on issues like gender pay equity, diversity on leadership teams, ethical treatment of factory workers in developing countries. People are paying more attention to how their consumption habits impact the global ecological footprint. They ask questions and they demand answers. Right now, more than ever, consumers are paying very close attention to their favorite brands and are completely open to replacing them when a more sustainable option comes around, as well as using their networks and platforms to tell the world about it. As the economy starts to open up again over the next several months, consumers will remember the brands with an authentic purpose and the ones that made the world a better place. So if you want to become a more responsible and sustainable brand, I hope you'll take a couple of insights from today and really start considering how you can make it happen right from where you're at today. Thank you.